Let's talk about some stuff we probably won't be seeing at E3 this year. We won't be seeing IO Interactive probably. It was recently announced, on the day of recording this, May 11th, Square Enix has basically said that they're letting go of the company. They released this weird notice of booking of extraordinary loss, which is I was like, extraordinary loss, that's an interesting way to word it. Legal forms. Anyways, I don't want to get into the mumbo jumbo of the article, but they basically stated as of the end of the fiscal year, March 31st, they're letting go of IO Interactive. If you're not familiar, they're the guys who did the Hitman episodic game. They were owned by Eidos Montreal. Square Enix bought Eidos, so therefore they owned IO Interactive and the Hitman franchise. It's unfortunate. They're losing out on 4.3 million. I think it was 4.8 million yen, but it translates to about $4.3 million. They state in it too that they're looking for somebody else to buy IO Interactive, and we can get into that discussion of who we think might buy them, who might go in and purchase them and stuff like that. But interesting decision. We all know that Hitman was a critical success. Sales numbers weren't great, but the game reviewed very well. It was Game of the Year for a lot of people. A lot of the people at Giant Bomb thought it was Game of the Year. I just want to know each of your individual reactions to this news, because I think it came as a surprise to almost everybody this morning when we all heard it.
Oh yeah.
See ya.
Oh yeah, I think that it was just sad. Obviously, on this show, we've talked plenty about the fact that I'm upset to see a really cool cyberpunk franchise like Deus Ex kind of go down, and now it looks like this is the next casualty in that situation. And of course, Tomb Raider's on the fence. We think there's another one being developed, but obviously they had a rocky launch with the last one and sales. So we'll see. I hope that Hitman is able to recover. I hope that IO is able to recover, because regardless of how well these sold, people really fucking like these games, and a decent amount of people bought it, enough to where I do think it warrants a sequel. I do think it warrants a second season if that's what they want to do. And so I'm really hoping that they land on their feet and are able to find a publisher that will allow them to continue moving forward with what seemed like pretty set in stone plans, what they had for seasons 2 and 3, which wouldn't be making a whole new game. They'd really just be adding stuff to their current framework.
So Jared, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I gathered reading about this, Square Enix still owns the Hitman IP.
Yeah. Yep.
So wherever the studio goes, they won't be bringing that with it. So
wow,
that's
rough.
Really quick, there are rumors that they're also trying to get rid of that IP and sell it as well. Just throwing that out there.
Which would make sense to my next point, because my reaction was going to be, from what people have told me, that game was really good. So I don't know how you can make that game better, right?
Yeah.
Like, it seemed like you can't make a better Hitman game and expect it to sell substantially more. So yeah, I could see why they want to ditch that IP now too. So
well, they've also developed every Hitman game, so to give it to another studio all of a sudden would be very just odd. I mean, and again, I mean, that's probably going to happen, but I wonder who that is that eventually buys it. And I mean, let's say IO does get purchased by, I'd say probably a large AAA company, if I had to guess, potentially like a Ubisoft or something like that. Obviously, this is just pure speculation. I have no logical guesses by any means. But let's say they were to get purchased by a large AAA company. Like, would that company then look to also purchase the IP to then give it back to IO? Like, I wonder what that situation's like, because IO really hasn't done too much else besides Hitman, and I'm sure they're definitely a talented team who can do something else and can create a new genre, can create a new game, and potentially in a different genre besides stealth or something like that if they want to spread their wings. But it is awkward at this point. And again, like you said, Jordan, like, it's always sad to hear this stuff, but this is specifically like a very sucky situation for both parties.
The interesting thing is, not only if Hitman goes on sale, but like, they're not doing anything with Deus Ex. Does Square Enix even see any value in that? What if we just eventually see in the next coming months or year that Square Enix is like, well, we're working on these Marvel games and we're not going to do anything with the Deus Ex license. Maybe we can sell it now that it's kind of popular, even though it didn't sell well, get some money for it. What if they end up just ditching Hitman and Deus Ex, which is going to suck, but it's, the reality of the situation. For me, my dream scenario was like, what's a company we're talking about not having enough first-party studios? Microsoft.
Yeah.
What's a company that has enough money to purchase them? Microsoft. You know.
Right.
I can see
Yeah,
it.
I think that would be really cool. It's more of a. I don't think it's a super dream scenario. It makes sense on a lot of points. It just, I think, really Microsoft's priority looking at this. A lot of companies are, and they're like, "What's the price point? Right? What are you willing to sell us for?" And they have to do the numbers in their head and punch the numbers and be like, "Is this worth buying?" I think if it's a package deal, because we don't know what exactly is going on, right? If it is a package deal of like they're trying to sell off IO and Hitman, you know, what's the price point there? I think if somebody ends up picking up IO and somehow does get Hitman, they're going to be in the good graces of gamers for a while, just for that simple purchase. Because it's basically relaying to consumers that love Hitman. They're like, you're willing to help us let this live on. We want to see more of IO making Hitman, and they did something great with it. I think whoever picks this up, as long as it's for the right price, is making a tremendous move. So we'll see.
I could see Warner Brothers doing it. I could see.
Oh, okay.
I could see a lot of people doing it, and I think that, you know, Square Enix hasn't necessarily, you know, managed the shit out of these franchises and Deus Ex and Hitman, so, you know, they could be handled better, and I think that if they were marketed better, then yeah, this fucking dope-ass cyberpunk stealth game would be selling well, and this fucking dope-ass Agent 47 stealth game would be selling well. They're cool concepts, and they're totally genres and concepts that are popular in today's media, so I don't understand how Square Enix is just like, well, man, you know, Final Fantasy, that's really our shit. Like, it seemed like they had their head on straight with, okay, well, we can have our own first parties doing the Final Fantasies and the Kingdom Hearts and the Japanese stuff, and then we can have our other, you know, Western first parties doing the Western IPs with the Deus Exes, the Hitmans, and the Tomb Raiders, and it just sucks that they're, you know, they've basically taken one of those wings completely off, though it may help in bringing a better focus to their Japanese front, so we'll see about that. But another little thing I want to mention is Avalanche. They recently did both the Mad Max game and Just Cause 3 as well, and of course I don't think either of those were huge mega hits, but it is worth noting that those guys are probably going to be screwed as well, looking at the way that Square's handling these other franchises.
Yeah, another interesting correlation that I forgot to throw in is Phil Spencer recently, like a couple of weeks ago, was talking about Game Pass, you know, Xbox Game Pass, this new Netflix for video game service. And there was a lot of misleading headlines talking about, like, Phil Spencer doesn't like Horizon Zero Dawn and Zelda, and just these very, like, please click on our website, we need views headlines, which I didn't really like. But basically what he was talking about is, he said, if Xbox Game Pass blows up and is successful and is a priority for Xbox and people are enjoying it, he says it could be a way for them to release episodic content, right, and already have it basically funded. And it would be a great marriage of those two concepts if IO Interactive gets purchased by Microsoft. They have this Xbox Game Pass. You know, you have Hitman already paid for through the Xbox Game Pass. You don't necessarily have to worry about the numbers so much, and it will come out episodically, so it kind of matches their format for what they want through Xbox Game Pass. I think it's just a smart merging of this and this. It makes sense, right? 1 + 1 = 2. So it's going to be interesting. I don't think we're going to hear about who gets a hold of IO Interactive for a while. Probably not till maybe later this year. You know, hopefully for the people that work there, it's sooner than that. But it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, good luck to them. That's, you know, Hitman's a classic franchise. That's clearly a very talented studio, and in my opinion, Square doesn't know what they're losing, so good luck to those people.
Exactly. I agree.